Boston College head coach Jeff Hafley is off to the Green Bay Packers to be their new defensive coordinator. And on this edition of College Football Now, we will break down what's next for BC. I have a list of the top 10 head coaching candidates for Boston College. We will go over the list and tell you something about every single candidate here on this edition of College Football Now. Before we do, want to make sure you guys subscribe to Chat Sports for the latest happenings in the world of college football, from the transfer portal to recruiting, counting you down to kickoff. The season will be here before we know it. The bosses put a challenge out there. They said that we can get more college football content on the channel if we can get 20 subs off today's video. Can we make that happen? Subscribe now for all the college football news and rumors that you need to know right here on College Football Now. Subscribe now for free, and we'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with Liam Coen, the offensive coordinator at Kentucky, and he played his college ball actually at UMass, was a quarterback there at UMass, and knows the Boston area really well. The Kentucky offense over the last couple of years has been pretty dynamic. We all know about Will Levis and his development there, but we've seen them have a track record as being one of the better offenses in the SEC over the last several seasons. Another name with ties to Boston College that BC fans would be very familiar with is Al Washington, the defensive line coach for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And Washington played and coached at BC. He was a 3-year starter at Boston College as well. And with what he's done at Notre Dame, when you talk about recruiting to a private Catholic institution, he knows how that all works. With what he's done at Notre Dame and playing at BC, he'd be very familiar with the circumstances that BC has there. Jason Candle, the head coach at Toledo. Holy Toledo! He's done an incredible job with that Toledo program, the Rockets, over the last few years. They're coming off an 11-win season, and he's totaled a 65-35 record with Toledo since his time there. And he nearly got the Syracuse job, almost took a job within the ACC this past offseason. Ultimately, that did not happen. So maybe there's some interest with another ACC school like Boston College here for Jason Candle. Who should be the next head coach at Boston College? That's our pinned comment today. I got my list of candidates, but want to hear from you, whether it's somebody we talk about or somebody we don't talk about on today's show. Chime in. Let us know what you think. Who would you like to see be the next head coach at BC? Next on the list, we find Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, was most recently with the New England Patriots as their offensive coordinator, and with Alabama prior to that as their OC. Goes to Ohio State, but it's no secret that Bill O'Brien would like to be a head coach again. He is a Boston native, and the last time this job opened, he kind of flirted with it a little bit. So there could be some interest there again if that phone does come calling, and obviously, he just left town, so who knows if he's even sold his house yet or anything like that with leaving the New England Patriots. So Bill O'Brien, a name to potentially keep an eye on that front. Staying internally, that is where we find assistant head coach for BC, Rob Chudzinski, as an option for BC. He's been with the program in some capacity all the way dating back to 2020, so a long time now, and could be seen as a way to potentially ride the ship. One of the things that you see now with the transfer portal and NIL, the way things are going there, is we're seeing more internal candidates get looks for jobs with the idea of kind of steadying the ship to keep players from leaving of some sort. So that could be something to keep in mind that could help Rob's chances to potentially get that job there. More names to get to in a moment, but first I want to tell you about today's sponsor, that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match on your first entry. Choose 2 or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points, passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards, and more. And on Prize Picks, I'm looking ahead to the big game. I got Patrick Mahomes to have more than half a passing yard, Isaiah Pacheco to have more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown, and Christian McCaffrey to have more than 35.5 receiving yards. If I put $20 down, that could turn into $100 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. promo code CLNS on your first entry. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Play along with us today. Now, let's go to the next 5 candidates. That's where we find Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This is a bit of a long shot, but it would be a homecoming of sorts for Brian Flores, as he did play linebacker for BC many years ago. Justin Fry, the O-line coach at Ohio State, he spent 5 years on Boston College's staff as an O-line coach. And the idea with Justin Fry is that he is very well thought of around the Boston College program, that he was very well liked and respected during his time in BC several years ago, and we've seen him do a very good job at Ohio State as their O-line coach, and how well he has developed talent on that front there. Another name to keep an eye on from the offensive line to the defensive line is Anthony Campanelli, the defensive line coach at Miami. And he is a former BC assistant, was here at one point in time. And from reports about Campanelli was that he loved his time at Chestnut Hill and that he has strong recruiting ties to that area as well. So that's very good on his front. Before we get to our next couple names, though, there is a question about Boston College's future that I think a lot of people were wondering when we talk about this head coaching search and trying to figure out the next spot. What does the future hold for BC in their conference? Are they going to stick around in the ACC for the long term with the instability of this league, with what we've heard about Florida State and Clemson and others? What does this mean for BC? You got to have a conference for the long term in the ACC. What do you guys think? Will Boston College stay in the ACC long term? Why for yes, in for no? That would be a question I would have if I'm a head coach, is what does our future look like in this league or beyond? That's what I would be very curious about. What do you guys think? Weigh in, tell me what you think. Why for yes, in for no, if Boston College is going to stay in the ACC or not. 2 more names. Todd Monken, the current offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. Monken basically got passed over for head coaching opportunities this go-round in the National Football League, despite having one of the best offenses in football with Lamar Jackson and company. We did see him do a really good job at Georgia as their OC for a couple seasons, winning a couple national titles. He does have head coaching experience. He was at Southern Miss at one point in time, so it's a long shot, but maybe a return to coaching could possibly be in the works, head coaching in the college level for Todd Monken. And then last on our list, we had to throw this guy out there. Seems like a wild scenario if this were to be the case. But Bill Belichick, could he go from being head coach of the New England Patriots to head coach at Boston College? I don't know if Belichick really wants to coach at the college level, but certainly would get a lot of people excited to see him stick around and potentially take on one more challenge here after getting passed up on head coaching opportunities in the NFL. We'll see. But seems like I might have a better chance of being the head coach than Bill Belichick does, but you never know. Appreciate you joining us here on this edition of College Football Now by Chat Sports. Try to get 20 subs off today's video. Subscribe now for free, and we'll see you next time.